Hello. Hi, welcome. Welcome to a very strange scheduled lecture on a Monday, but very happy that we can share a lecture with the lower division students and the upper division students at the same time. So we have a great, we have a great speaker today. I'm going to ask my colleague Jason Chandler to introduce him before he starts.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm very happy to introduce Paolo Brescia this evening. He is an Italian architect and the founder of OBR, Open Building Research in Milano. This is a visit a long time coming. Paolo has served as a guest critic for our Genoa program for many years. I met him in 2018 when he hosted our students at his elegant office in Milano. Back then, when I was chair of the department, I was very excited about bolstering our ties with Milano and study abroad program there. Towards that end, I invited him and Ilaria Valente, the dean at the Politecnico at Milan, to come to our final reviews at MBUS in the March of 2020. You will remember that what happened in 2020, in March. I think I sent him the invitation letter, and then the next week, COVID hit. And it also hit northern Italy quite badly, if you remember, and it basically scrapped all those plans. So 4 years later, I'm very happy that Paolo is here, but it's been taking a long time to get him here, so I'm very pleased that he's here. He graduated with a degree from architecture from the Politecnico in Milan, which was followed by an academic fellowship at the Architecture Association in London. After, he worked for Pritzker Prize winner Renzo Piano for several years, and in 2000 founded with Tommasino Principi OBR. He was a professor in charge of the Polytechnic and also taught at the University of Genoa for many years. With OBR, and you're going to see this tonight, he's had numerous international exhibitions, received numerous awards and distinctions. I do want to talk a little bit about just the context that Paolo is in. Milan, as you know, is always on my mind. I taught an elective this past semester on Milanese housing. And Milan is arguably the center of fashion and design in the entire world. Within its fabric, there are some of the most compelling examples of modern housing. This is due in large part to two factors. The first is the post-war urbanism of Milano. And what the architects and the planners of the city did was actually quite amazing. Much of Milano was bombed severely in World War II, and while many cities decided to create a kind of new architecture and rethink the planning of their cities, Milan actually respected the urbanism of the historic fabric. And it's amazing how modern contemporary housing infills the fabric of Milan, and it's actually quite impressive. And I would argue some of the best modern housing in the world. And then the second part of it is what is termed ambiente, which is the sort of context, the feeling, the ambiance that constitutes Milan. And this is a word that's been around, but there was a book called Ideas of Ambiente by Angelo Latuni, and in his book he frames it this way. He says it was, why do you get such exceptional work in Milan? And it basically was the exceptional collaboration of cultured clients and refined professional architects. That's what you get. Paolo Brescia is one of those refined professional architects, one who embraces the inexhaustible resource of Milan, its rich architectural legacy, and the extraordinary continuing culture of building. Please join me in welcoming our lecturer tonight, Paolo Brescia.
Thank you, Jason, for your very generous presentation. Thank you, Harry, for your invitation. Finally, we did. It was a long time, actually, that we were trying to do this, and so thank you, all of you. and I'm very, very honored to be here with you tonight. All right, so I probably have to say where we are from. Everybody comes from somewhere. I come from Italy, especially from Liguria, which is a region of Italy close to Genova. And I have to say that, first of all, we are a group of friends. So Tommaso, my business partner, and me, we were working for Renzo Piano. We started to work with Renzo like in 1997. And then we couldn't resist to the unstoppable desire to take part in design competition. So we decided, okay, let's do this. We didn't have any client. We didn't have anything at all. So we decided, okay, let's put ourselves on the edge and let's start to do this. And we started in this building. This is a very ancient building in Genova, in the historical center. You probably know this, Jason, you were here. And I have to say that we started in a moment where there were the low-cost flights, so it was very easy at that time to travel. So we started to travel, to take part in competition wherever, in Japan, in Korea, and we started to create a group. That was the original one. And I think we should move a little bit. That is the window, but there is a group of people below. But just to have an idea, we were under the roof of that building, and no one of us were from the same city. So we were living in the office at all. We were living of bread and architecture. And then so this is the ceiling of another room. And then you see how we were working. We were working all together around the same table. So it was interesting from one side, but a little bit nosy on the other. But that was the way to stay together. I need your support a lot. And now we are based in Milano. We still work in the same way. So like a team with a big table. It means that when you have to do a call, it's better to be in the street. But this is still the way we like to stay. Now, what I would like to show you are just a few projects that are of course, it's not so clean now, so don't expect to find something like that. So what I would like to show you tonight are a few projects that are from the office, but are also, let me say, the result of a different experience that come from a design competition, most of them. And the first one is this one. This is a city called Crotone. Croton is a small city in south of Italy where Pythagoras found his school, the Scuola di Pitagora, the School of Pythagoras. Of course, there is nothing about Pythagoras anymore, but the city of Croton decided to promote itself through the identity of Pythagoras, so they decided to do a design competition to create a museum, a small museum, for Pythagoras, without anything in terms of objects. So it was just a museum for, let me say, about math, about whatever Pythagoras invented. But the problem was the budget, no budget at all. They said you have €1 million, which is approximately $1 million, to do a museum of 1,000 square meters. The budget of this is like an industrial building in Italy. So the idea was how you wanted to connect the historical center, which, by the way, is... oh, sorry. Anyway, the historical center works very well from the social point of view. Then you have the peripheria, the external part of the city, which doesn't work at all from the social point of view. So the idea to locate the museum out of the city and create a connection, that is the sky. A connection through the museum to the city was the idea of the municipality. So the point was how to create a structure where you wanted to be visible from the city, but in the same time also integrated into the orography of the small hill that you have. And that is the reason of that shape, so that should be something that would face the city on one side, but also be part of the park on the other side. And that was our first building, which you can see a long time ago. I was still 30 years old. But as I said before, the budget was so little that we couldn't have any money for the finishing, for example. So what we did is to work with engineering in order to spend whatever we had for the structure, but in the way that it could be whatever you have. No money neither for the windows, just glasses put into the cement. But that was the idea, to make this museum like a studio where you can play with the visual installation, with the videos. But then, as it happens often in Italy, something changed, and the municipality didn't have any money to create the organization for the museum. So what's happened is that you see that man is now the one that you can see on the right side, is the one that was living in the museum. Why? Because the agreement with the municipality was that the contractor should give the museum with the key and with the security. But the municipality was not ready to receive the building. So what they said, instead of paying for the security, they allow someone to live in the building, to maintain the building. So now there is this man from Pakistan with his family, and they use the museum with a living room, perfect. You go there, you can find a happy family. That was the story at the beginning. Now they find something. But this happens in Italy sometimes. This is another competition. It's for a residential complex. The client had this problem. They have this land out of the city, south of Italy, south of Milano, in a place where you do not have anything, like this industrial complex there. But the beauty of that landscape was this bush and these fields that they were the only significant place. But they don't have this. They didn't have the urban effect. So the point was how to create the urbanity to make people decide to go there. That is the complex as it is now, and the building is this one. So the idea was how to make this kind of landscape be part of the cluster, pushing that little bush a little bit inside, and so the idea was how you can create this complex which should embrace, but in the same time also make the landscape be part of the building, so that every unit should have this, how can I say, this hybrid space between inside and outside. So the point was how to blur the line between inside and outside, how to open the box, I would say. And okay, this is a very ugly image, but what we didn't want to create, it was just a box with the windows, so that the only relationship you have with the outside is through the frame of the windows. So the idea was how to create something that is like that, where you have each unit, even if it is very small, but with a place where you can extend the indoor a little bit outside, but in the same time also put the inside, the landscape a little bit inside. This comes from this idea of the historical residential house in Milano. It's called the Casa di Ringhiera. It means that you see the distribution. You have the stairs in the corner, then you walk through the Ringhiera, and then you achieve your house. But the problem of that is that today it works, but not so well because you pass in front of the house of the others. It works well for the social point of view because you use the Ringhiera to create, the sense of the community of the house. But what we try to do is how to recreate this sense of community from the courtyard, but instead of through the distribution, through the, let me say, the private space of the house. So the way you can open the building becomes also the way you can speak about the identity of the people that is living in the building. So that you can see that the window are this one, but everything is extended from inside to outdoor or from outdoor to inside. But this also gives the possibility to show also a little bit of your way of living. I remember I was there like a couple of years ago, and I was with a friend, and when I was walking in the courtyard, I met someone living there, and I asked this young guy, "Where do you live?" And he said, "I live there," and he was indicating me a house, not this one, but another place where there was like a table with a plan. He didn't tell me I live the second floor, the third window on the right. He said where there is that, what he decided to show, because that was also the way he wanted to speak about his way of living. You can see this gentleman also underline this, because there is also a problem. When you do a building in Italy for a residential, the architect is also asked to do the regulation of the building, which means that you have to say what should be allowed or not should be allowed for the facade, for example. And we didn't know what to say because the facade is something that should finish here because this is like the terrace, but you cannot say to anybody you cannot touch the outdoor place because it's part of the house. So what happened is that at the end of the day, this building is really, I would say, redesigned by the people somehow, because everybody extend their way of living, and this is also the way they could speak about the community through the, I would say, their own way of living. Each of them is creating something that speaks about you can see really inside of the building, but this becomes also like a filter, so that they decide what to speak in terms of way of living. All right, and then this is in Parma. It's Parma is a small city. It's famous for the pasta, but there is also a famous hospital, a hospital for children. We are not specialized in hospital. And this is probably also the reason we believe that architecture is something that doesn't require too much specialization. It's better to mix different fields together in order to bring something and listen for the others who knows better, because there will be always someone who knows better anything. But if you bring your experience, then you can create something more. And in this case, the doctor already had some very specialized engineering for hospital, but they asked how it could be possible to make the hospital a little bit more close to the children, and not only the children who stays inside, but also to the children who stays outside, because for any children who is inside, there is always the friends, the brothers and sisters, and so on. So the point was how to create an hospital. Of course, the goal of the hospital is to take care about the people inside, but also to celebrate the life of the people who is inside. And you have two ways, of course. Working with the natural phenomena, but in the way you can perceive the changing of the natural phenomenon. So we decided to play with the light, with the view, so in order to open the box and make everything illuminated from outside, and creating a courtyard in which you can really understand what is the changing of the natural phenomenon. And elevation is something that takes budget out of the hospital, which is very bad. When you do a hospital, you have a budget, and the budget, it's better to focus all inside, of course. So the point was how to make the best hospital inside without spending money outside, but also in the same time also created this relationship between the building and the people inside and outside. So the idea was make the box as functional as possible. Then, you can see that the windows inside is wherever they have to be. Then we painted the box in black, and we overlapped the cheapest layer as possible with a simple glass. But this glass becomes reflected because behind is black, so any glass which has some dark in the back becomes like a mirror. That was the way to speak about the outdoor scape. And in the same time, the fins that are creating this facade has the color which are changing because of the functional inside or outside, so that there is a link between what you have inside and the color outside. And that was the way to keep the budget very low, because then always you will see that when you will work, you will find clients that always have some issue about money, like it is the biggest problem. But there is always a solution, which is the proper solution. Bello e buono. The Greek said, kalos kai agathos. It cannot be beautiful if it is not so good, and if it is good, then becomes also nice. So there is a coincidence each time. So don't worry about that. You will find anyway solution. Okay, this is a project in India. It's in Jaipur, in the region of Rajasthan. And the story here is quite funny because we were in Dubai. We were at the Academy of Architecture in Dubai, in Mumbai. And I was with some people from UK, with the Borough Apple. I don't know if you know this very good office for engineering. And that was my first time in India. And during the lecture, there was an activist who was quite interested in understanding if it was possible to find the way to create the social sustainability of a real estate development. And so he decided to invite us to Jaipur, and we said, okay, let's go. And we met this gentleman who wanted to do a building close to the airport. So until here, nothing special. But the point was, he asked me, what do you know about India? And I said, nothing. I mean, I just came the day before, so I didn't have any experience in India. And he said, that's fine, because we are looking for someone who wants to work with us, but understanding how India is from our point of view. And so he decided to invite us to Jaipur. And he called me, he said, join your team here. And I said, would you like to come? And they came from Genova. And we spent like 10 days with them, traveling through Rajasthan, to see what was India from their point of view. So we try to understand how the production, how the coincidence between life and the work is in India. For example, this is let me say, a factory of lamps. And you can see that there is a kind of proud in making things. You can see from his face. He was very proud to say, this is the way I like to work. And it was everything is manual. Each of these little lamp is like in Murano. They are done one by one. So the idea was how to create something that could belong to the real estate market, but working with that kind of production. Let me say, with that kind of humanity also. So I remember that there was an artist in Italy, it's called Alighiero Boetti. He did this kind of experiment. This is called biro, you know the biro, the pen. And he was trying to see how it would work if you involve many people. I give you a pen, you start to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then you give your pen to Jason, and Jason starts, and then again. And so at the end of the day, you have like a masterpiece of 6 meters done like that. But that was very inspiring for us because you could speak about the work of many people together doing the same thing. So what we did was simply to, you see, this is this again, you can do the same in a different way, but involving many people together. And this is the textile that is very, I was thinking very modern, but they told me that it's very ancient in India. It's called the leharia. And this is like 800 years old, so it's very, very old. And so we went to the people that do this kind of stuff. All of them are by hand, of course. If you go to London, you go by, to Harrods, you buy a cap of like that, you spend like 10 pounds, but it's done for a few rupees. So what we did is go the same people, to the same people, and work with them to see how big could be the same element without changing their technique, very basic. But at the end of the day, we came back with that, which is the biggest dimension you can manage. And then we work with the colors. Of course, colors not by us because they said that we were too much European, so they're not their color. But this is the building, which is a very normal building. But the characteristic is on the elevation, which is made with this double layer of elements, so that all of them can be treated with a pattern, so that you combine the texture with the colors in order to achieve whatever you want. But at the end of the day, this is what they decide, because we work on one side with the artisan, on the other side with the artist, and with them we create this equation where you have colors and texture together. Then you use Grasshopper, which for us is easy because it's a software. But each drawing which was done by our computer was the way to make them understand where they are in the total process. Because it's not something that is a demultiplication of something. The 60,000 baguettes that you have in ceramic are by hand, which means similar. But at the end of the day, this is also the way you know that in this kind of environment, the building process is not done by the multiplication like an industrial process, but through the repetition. Like to say that 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is different from 1 per whatever. And that was the way also to include the community there, because if you go during the weekend, you see people going there saying, I was working there, my father, my brother, and so on. because a lot of people used to work in that building, and it was a very nice experience, still going on. So the structure is very normal. These are my friends, and they are the ones that are guiding the process somehow, because they say what it is. This is the mock-up, the proper colors, the texture that is part of their common imagination. So again, architecture is really a collective process where you work with the others, and the best is when you create this team where you have people from the site, and then you listen, and then something happens, something that you could not expect before. So there is a big change, I think, in the way that architecture is done today. It's not something I had a dream. We started to work together, and then something happens. Probably the serendipity is doing something. Okay, here we are again in India. We are in Delhi. While we were working for that project in Jaipur, the Michelin Group, the French company, called us to ask if we could be interested in creating a partnership with others. It was also, this one is a design competition, but through groups of architects. So there were like 10 teams of architects. Each of them were combined by European and the Indian, European or American teams. And that is like a campus. The Michelin decided to bring together both the managers and the researchers together, which is something special because usually they separate. But just because they decided to bring everything together, there were issues in terms of confidentiality. You should bring everything separated, and that was something that didn't work for us. So what we tried to do is how to create a campus, but in the way that everything is connected, not separated, where you switch from one function to another function depending on the time or whatever. So the idea was bring everything under the same roof in order to mitigate the external space. And then instead of having the entrance at the beginning of the building, push the entrance close to the heart so that you can shape the building in order to make the people enter through the public space of the building. And then having like a courtyard, but the different departments are, I would say, linked through the gardens. We have been working with Michel Devigne. You probably know this French, very good landscape architect, and he was planning the gardens in order to create the view, but also the privacy through the offices. And in the same time, the roof is the smart part of the building where you can collect the water, take the energy, and but also keep the people together through the courtyard, which is somehow protected by this open roof. But that competition didn't go on. It happens that you probably win a competition and then you wait, but nothing happens. But that was good for the next one, because then you create your own experience that you will bring for the next. So don't worry also for that. Now we are in Dubai. Dubai is a crazy city, big towers, wherever. But in that case, it was a competition for a small building, very small. It was a small museum for the Jamil collection. In London, there is the a small collection by the Jamil family. Their aim is to promote young talents in the Middle East, North Africa. So they decided to do a museum close to on the creek. And for us, it was like to play like David and Goliath. You remember, to be when you are small, then you can be more significant if you play with, for example, with the landscaper. So you change the scale. And then we are on the water, which means that that could be also the excuse to investigate a new way to make the building like something which is not just a box, but like an organism which can exchange with the water or with the sky or whatever. You know that in Dubai, you cannot stay outside more than 2-3 months a year, otherwise it's too hot. But if you play with something that is not just a skill, but if you extend the how can I say the way that the box is open and can breathe somehow, it would be nice to think that the building can be more performer if the difference between what you have inside and what you have outside is bigger somehow. I don't know how to say, but I think that the moment there is a big difference, this is also a big opportunity. So what we try to do with engineering is how to enhance this big difference from inside, where you want to have something, and the outside, where you already have whatever. This is something that we tried to investigate also when we did the residential building. It's not just a matter how to protect something inside, but I think it's a matter to recognize that outdoor, you already have whatever you need. You have the sun, even too much. You have the wind. You have the snow, when you have the snow, or the rain, whatever. So it's just a matter of how much you want to keep of what you already have. I think that this is something that today is something interesting. Like in your experience, the one that you showed me today, where you understand that there are opportunities that are just there, you need just to recognize, and then it's just a matter to keep what you need, of what you already have, without inventing anything. So anyway, I don't want to keep too much of your time, but that is the small scale of this project, and that is the way we try to work with this facade, which is not just a layer, but it becomes like a space in order to use it for the third dimension that it has, for the deep. But anyway, we were second, so nothing happened again. Now, this is a project in Milano, in Turin. I have to say that Turin is a very elegant city. That is the city where the king of Italy were from. So that was a competition to reuse the building of the office of the kingdom, when there was the kingdom, which is this one. It's a building from the 18th century. But for the office of the kingdom, and use it to do the museum of the art collection of the kingdom, which is great because they had like 1,200 paintings from the 13th century to the 20th century. Beautiful collection. But the point was that the building, which is that one, was done for offices. So you have a corridor in the middle, and then room and room. And the problem is that you enter into the room facing the window, which means that you have the light. And when you see, in kind of situation like that, when you see a painting, you would see the light comes from the window reflected on the painting. And so that is the worst situation that you want to have for a museum. And so the idea was very simple. We understood that the structure was done by arches. and then just walls. So the idea was, what's happening if you remove all the walls and you keep on the arches? And then instead of having the problem that you enter in the room, you face the light, and then you go out from the same entrance. So what we did is remove the walls and then use the corridor as an extension of the room. So in this way, we could achieve the circulation properly for a museum. You have the light not in front of you, but in the back. And so this is the result where we just removed everything, and then the installation are the ones that create the museum. And then there is I have to tell you that when you will work on something existing, then details makes a difference. So it's better to trust on details. And I'll tell you also through this other project. That is a project that Jason probably remember that has been done for the Expo 2015. You know that in Milano we had the International Expo, and at that time, one of the buildings that was interested by this expo was the Triennale di Milano, which is the Palazzo dell'Arte, they call it like that. It has been designed by Giovanni Muzio, who is a very famous Italian architect. And I have to say that I'm from Milano. And when I was at the Politecnico, we used to go there because it was the palace for big events and so. But that was the inauguration approximately 100 years ago. You see, still the king there. And on top of the building, there was a terrace from which you have this beautiful view of Milano. Milano is a small city, and you understand that it is small when you go in a place like that, because this is something strange in Italy, because you have the perception of the city through the time that you spend from, for example, by Vespa, you know, the motorbike, to go from one part of the other part. You say, okay, it takes 20 minutes. But then, when you go on top of a building in the center, you understand that everything is there. So it's a very small city. But the problem is that what they wanted to do is just a pavilion on top of the building. That was the place, and we knew that building, but we didn't know that there was a terrace on it. So on one side we were quite emotioned by the fact that we were on top of this building by Muzio, but on the other time we wanted to recreate something that could make this building be part of Milano, on top of because the idea was to create this kind of pavilion, and we did like this, which is very simple. We tried to make it in a place, and then this man is this is the genius, because he tried to understand all the problems that we had, and he made it possible and done in very few weeks actually for the expo. These are my friends. They are the chef and the barman. And the idea was very simple, because it is like a restaurant. On one side you have the kitchen, on the other side you have the bar, and then everybody can enjoy this view. And this you see, details here are something that needs to done properly, because when you work on something that is on existing, and this happens in Italy, because in Italy it's very rare that you have the possibility to build something that is from nothing. Most of the time is a brownfield, or it is an existing building. So whenever you have this opportunity, then it is important that you respect the building because it is also the way to respect the life of the people before you. But in the same time, your contribution could be in the way that you make that building like it is there since forever. I don't know if you have this feeling sometimes that you wonder how to make something that can stay, but in the same time not too much, because it should pass. But in the same time, a building works well the moment it can change on time, independently by the function, of course. So on one side, it should belong to your time, because it should be functional, it should have the material, the technique of today. But on the other time, it should be that it is there since it has been before and after. So in this double time dimension, I would say, we are asked to play with the existing building. And that's all. Now it still works. After the expo, they decided to keep the building, not to keep the building, to keep the pavilion again. And because to do this small pavilion, they didn't have the money. Money again is a problem. But what they did is something interesting, because they asked to people from Milano, do you want to take part in this? If you say yes, then you put just a little sum of money, and then you become, let me say, a partner of the development, and they give you back the money after a few years if you want. But in the same time, they could ask to the people the money enough to make this small pavilion. And this also creates the sense of belonging somehow. Of course, in the moment you pay, it becomes a little bit yours. Okay, this is another project, if we have a little bit of time. It's a small airport. Actually, it is also the oldest airport in Italy. We are in the Riviera, close to French, and it's a small airport which has been done because it is connected to France, it's close to France. So after the First World War, Italy decided to build this airport. And someone bought the airport and decided to make something different from just an airport. And he decided, he's also an art collector, so he has money enough to think differently also. But he decided to create something that works also for Monaco, because it's connected. And we did a mock-up, which is this one, in order to also to see how a place which works as an airport could be also a place where you can also meet people, because it becomes, of course, a very accessible place, because if it is an airport. But what was interesting for us was how to bring not the flights, but the landscape inside, and how to work with the light, the view, through the perception of the changing of the natural phenomenon. And okay, this is one of the last projects. And here we are back in Milano. There is a bank which we like a lot, because they try to think differently. And what they decided to do is to do not just a bank. They called the Casa BFF. BFF is the name of the bank. And so they did this design competition to do their building here. This is an axe which is very important in Milano, because it goes out of the city on the northwest. And so the idea here was how to create the door of the city from the double side of the entrance and the exit of the city, but not making just a building where you have the front of the building connected to the street, but how you can somehow create a public space in front of it. So it was a matter how you can give something back to the public domain and recess the building enough in order to create that place which is open to the city. And then it is connected through this large, let me say, flying carpet, which gives the energy to the building and to the surrounding. And on the other side, how to open the building to what was before it was the back, but then becomes one of the front, like Giano Bifronte, where you have two different front, but they are both fronts. And then this is the CEO of the bank, who was very proud in doing something which was not just one of the towers of Milano, but that could bring something back to the community, so that the building is pushed on one side. All right. Okay. So the very last is this one. We are back to Genova. Okay, Genova. Probably some of you were in Genova. You know that you have a beautiful location in Genova, like FIU. So Genova is a very strange city because it's an old city, of course, but it is also shaped by the sea and the mountain on the back. In fact, we say that Genova is the harbor. I mean, everything is in the water. If you put the compass here in the water, you take all the city. The problem is that after the Second World War, the extension of the city started to extend also the harbor on east and west, so that the direct relationship of the city with the sea has been a little bit destroyed by the harbor. In fact, all the new extension of the harbor create this disconnection between the city and the sea. And so the idea was, first of all, to create like a big channel that should create, let me say, the island of the harbor and bring the water back to the ancient wall, so that you recreate the urban side on the water. So it's something that is done taking something out. So you don't add, but you keep out. And then this is the master plan. We did this, Renzo Piano did the master plan, and that was also the way they started to do also some design competition. And the story here is that they did the design competition, then they decided that the project were not ready enough, so Renzo started to develop the master plan again, and we have been involved in part of that, so that the existing building are this one, and the other one has been done removing the previous building of the FIU. And it is like that now. This is the new channel. This is the existing buildings. And the new buildings are like ships around the existing ones. But here you can see how the design competition was done before. That was the previous idea that we had regarding the canal, with this kind of building that should have been the way you can create a public space on the sea, but in the same time also create a multifunctional building on top. And this is the renovation of what is called Pala Sport, which is designed by the students of Pierluigi Nervi. And this is the residential building under construction. And this is a small installation that we did before doing the master plan. It's a very small installation, but I decided to put this because it is the demonstration that sometimes something happens more than what you expect. Because that was done for one of the boat show that was in Genova. And it was the way how you can speak about the natural phenomena, about the wind, the sun, and it is also done with some sails that would play with the wind, so that you have the perception of the changing of the natural phenomenon. And but it was just a temporary installation of public art, but temporary. But sometimes it happens that he's another friend of mine. He's an artist who played with the boards on this. This is our mayor, and we were trying to see how you can deal with, we say altalene, where you sit. But this is not single, it's double, so you enjoy. It's not easy to go in two persons. And then this is one of the buildings that we are starting just now. It's called Casa Vela. It's a place where you have a public building in the most prominent part of that master plan, which is going to be completed next year. Okay. You know that when you speak about building, or when you speak about architecture, you don't speak about building, you speak about the life of the people living on those buildings. And someone says that architecture is the art of creating shelter for the people. I think that we all agree on the fact that it would be better to speak about people like, not like individuals, but like community, where you share common values in the same place. What we try to do in doing what we do is to follow a kind of idea of architecture as something about relationship, not about object, where you put in the center not just man, but the relationship of man with the environment, like the work that you showed me today, where you understand that is more important the relationship, how the architecture can change, how it would work on time more than in space. And it's true also that, as you could see, architecture is more a collective process, an evolutionary process. I would say a cooperative process, which you undertake putting yourself on the edge, sometimes also doing some mistakes, but still investigating the unknown or the future, which I think is the only place where you have to go if you have to go somewhere. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for a great lecture. We open up for questions, comments from students and faculty.
about, sorry? Mm. Well, I remember that Jason, during the introduction, said the quality of architecture is made by good clients and good professionals. Engineering are part of this link. Um, I think it's a matter of listening each other. We have to listen for engineering, but at the end of the day, I would say that design is something like overlapping different layers where you involve different kind of expertise. And then it is a nice experiment to do. You listen to the engineering, you start to design what they say. Then you listen to the specialized in whatever. And then you bring all this together and something happens. Then at the end of the day, we are like a film director, where you bring the best actors and the best scenography, and you just need to share the vision together with engineering. Then they start to be more than just an engineering in terms of technical things. Then I don't know if there is a difference between architecture and engineering. It's part of the same game. Different role, but the goal is the same. So we need them. But then it's a teamwork where really the design is the result of something else. Serendipity, I think, it says something, because when you work like that, you see that you discover something that you are not looking for, but you find because you are in a status of research. So you need to create the status of research, then something will happen. Sorry, I couldn't hear very well. Uh-huh. You mean language in terms of style? So, okay, this is a good question, because actually what we try not to have is something which is connected with style, because you will see that style then becomes a problem if it brings you inside of a way of, how to say, it should be the result, not the, it's not just the goal. You will see that, again, like the ancient said, kalos kaya gatsos. Something becomes nice if it is also good, and vice versa. I would tell you an example. The way you want to have let me speak about, for example, the experience we did for the residential building, the one in Milano. We didn't have any experience at all in residential. That was our first building. So what we did is we were around the same table between us, the team, and they said, okay, what would you like to have as a house? And each of us had, okay, I have a little budget, so my problem is that I cannot have the biggest house in the world, but what I would like to have is to have something that is really connected to the place where I decided to live in. So we tried to open the box in order to create the link between that specific place that you choose and your small number of square meters that you can pay. Then it was just a matter how to create this relationship, how to rethink the facade in order to extend your small number of square meters outside, but bring also that kind of landscape inside. And that's all. Then becomes what you saw. But there was no a style intention at the beginning. I think that each time that you think like that, then you don't have to worry. Whatever you do, it will work and you will be happy. Because it will be the result of something that comes from what you want to achieve. And of course, it's better to work with others in order that you can listen, reinterpret it. It's like a ping pong. You give me your idea, I give back to you, you give me something back again, and then after a while, something happened, and you say, oh, I couldn't say it before. And that is not a matter of style, because it's something that happened. So I think that there is more behind the desire of what you want to achieve. In that case, how you want to create your specific house that speaks about your way of living, because whatever you decide is something that is also so seen, it is also visible from outdoor, but it is also the way you want to bring what you choose. So it's probably a new way of thinking architecture to something that is this process, I would say. I don't know if I answered to your question. Nice question. Well, actually, the building, they have their own story, but you are also part of that story. Someone was before you, someone else will be after you. So each building is evolving. You need just to be part of that process. I think that if you want to enhance that building, you need to listen to it. You will discover that there is something that it works for your moment today. And so most of the time, it works well if you bring what is, how you say, hypertrophic, and you bring, like, remember the project in Turin? We kept out what was out of our goal, but we still keep the essence of that building. And then you have the freedom to rethink with some little things. But most of the time, if you keep out what you don't need and then remains what you need, then this can help. And then it is also true that whatever you do should belong to your time, but in the way that it is forever somehow, but it will not, of course. So I think that the proper approach is to work with your instrument of today, for today, for the function of today, but knowing that it will change. So you need to open the building to the future somehow, but belong to your time, without saying, if it was like that before, I still have to do like before. Restoration is something that needs your intervention, even if it is in a very historical building. Restoration is something that keeps the building as it was before, but the intervention should be seen belonging to your time. You are required to be part of that. You have to be, but respecting the building. It's a matter of listening. If you listen to the building, it will speak.
All right, I think this was great. Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you to you.